everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Mission Snapshot. As always, we are so thankful that you are taking time out of your busy schedule to share this time with us because we are so excited to be able to share some more news stories from our evening schools. It's Thursday, so we have Veronica here. And these stories that you're bringing us are from the call that you had with Israel and Brother Thomas a couple of weeks ago, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so these are still new.
Still new.
Still new. We love that. So, where are we today?
So, today we're going to start off in Matatukalam.
Okay.
And we're going to, we actually have two stories that have come out of that evening school. So, and we're talking, total, we have 3 stories today, and they're all about boys, young boys. So, that'll be fun.
Yes.
So, our first story is about a little boy, and he's in the 4th grade.
Okay.
And lives with his mother and father, come from a very poor family. And he was not a very well-behaved young boy, as some can be. And before the lockdowns, he did not attend the evening school. He just went to his regular school, went home. Didn't have a lot of time to get into trouble before the lockdowns. But once the lockdowns hit with COVID, you know, as many of our stories, we've realized these children really have nowhere to go, nothing to do.
Right.
You know, I'm sure we've experienced that a little bit here as well in the States. You know, trying to keep the kids occupied when they don't have their normal schedule is very difficult. Yeah. And they have less to keep them occupied there than we have. You know, it's still a little easier, even though some parents may not want their kids in front of the TV all day or whatever, but at least you have some options.
Right.
They don't have things like that there, especially in the poor families. It's not like he could just sit there and play his video games all day or, you know, or even have access to books. He couldn't even just sit there and read. He does, you know, they don't have access. So to keep himself occupied, he found some other activities that weren't very nice. And so he was kind of running around the village doing things he probably shouldn't, and not listening to his parents, not being obedient to them at all. So if they would say, you know, please stay home and do this, he would say, no, and he would just run off and do his own thing. And so they learned about the evening school, and they thought, you know, maybe if we can get him into the evening school, that would help at least for a couple hours a day, keep him occupied.
Right.
And so they finally convinced him. I mean, he did not want to go. I mean, he's only a 4th grader, so you think convinced him, you know, you should be able to just take him there. But, you know, he clearly was not wanting to do what his parents wanted him to do. And so it was definitely a kind of a fight to get him there. But he eventually did join the evening school and started attending. And as he attended more and more, the parents started to kind of just see a change in his attitude at home. He was eager to go to the evening school. He was less, you know, inclined to go out and just run the streets with friends and do other things. And he also kind of gained some respect toward them. And his attitude was just really changing. And, you know, and so they thought, well, the only difference is the evening school. And so as many of our parents have done, you know, they went and they talked with the teachers and they said, you know, we really appreciate this. We've seen a great change in our son, and we really, you know, love that he is now more obedient and calm and disciplined. So just a great example of how the evening school is really helping change the characters of the children and not just improve their writing and reading skills. So he's, you know, and of course, allowing him to get food and different things like that has been a great blessing for them as well. But the biggest change has just been with his attitude.
And we've talked in previous episodes of Mission Snapshot that the teachers really care about the whole child. So it's not just about trying to help them with their normal education, and it's not even just about trying to help them learn songs, but they actually talk to them about life and how to succeed in life and how to mature and what it takes to be a godly man or a godly woman. And so they hear this and they're like, yeah, I want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've talked about that many times, where the teachers take interest in exactly what's happening. Just like last week when we were talking about the two girls who were crying all the time. Yeah. I mean, the teachers genuinely wanted to know why and what's happening and how can we help you. They had, God puts that concern and love in their hearts for each child that comes through the door.
Yeah.
And in turn their family, So these teachers are not just trying to care for the child, but they realize that there's a whole family situation. And,
that's true.
And, they're not trying to do anything that's going to actually step on toes or change what the parents might be telling the kids at home. But at the same time, just giving them really solid character building steps that you can use no matter what religion you end up deciding to follow or whatever. These are just some basic personality things that everyone should have.
Right. And you mentioned that the young man didn't want to listen to anybody, so I'm assuming that when he got to the evening school, listening was probably not what he wanted to do while he was there. And the teachers, I've seen the teachers in our evening schools not even try and push that kind of a child out. Like they really try to bring the child in so that they feel more comfortable in the evening school rather than saying, okay, I've had it up to here. You're not listening to me. You need to go home. They don't do that. They try to make sure that the child can be assimilated and feel welcome.
Yeah, I think they definitely realize that it's going to take time for the character to change. But also, it's not just what they're saying to the child that makes the difference. In a lot of ways, in many of the stories we hear, it's actually the peer influence. So when that student is sitting in a room full of other boys his age, and they all are sitting quietly and listening and only talking when asked to speak, and just doing all of these things and being polite, and they're also not yelling at him if he speaks out of turn or something like that. He's learning a lot from them as well. Exactly. And by the teachers just accepting it and moving on with the lesson or whatever they're doing, it really teaches him even faster, like, oh, maybe I should act this way and not how I've been acting. So, yeah, it's a great influence.
And I really love the stories where the children really had nowhere else to go but the evening school. And so they got in. So that was cool.
Yeah. I do think that is one of the greatest benefits to everything that's happened over the last year. As many horrible things has happened. I mean, we could never have that. Our evening schools would never have had that much influence in these cities without something like this. And I'm not making light of any of the horrific things or the deaths, but how many more people have been reached for Christ because of that? It's amazing to see. It's wonderful.
And it's an evidence to me of how God can reach into a very awful situation and still bring something good out of it, because we've seen that with our evening schools time and time again. So I really appreciate it. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, let's move on because we do have other stories. So our next story is still in Matatukulam, but this young man is a little bit older. He is in 6th grade. He does have a sister who's in 4th grade, and they are a strong Hindu family. But the boy, from a very young age, has just really enjoyed singing, and God has given him a great talent. He has a beautiful voice. And so I'm sure in his home, in many different ways, he would sing different songs and just kind of be, bring fun and cheer to the family through his voice. Well, they started going to the evening schools during the lockdown. It doesn't say exactly why, but I'm sure, as with many of these stories, probably for food help and just something to do and, that kind of thing. So they began going to the evening schools. And as we know, our teachers do teach them songs.
Yes, they
that's
do.
part of the program. You learn verses, you learn songs, and that's a great way of teaching Christ. And so he started learning these songs. He would pick them up very quickly, and he would sing them throughout the day in his home and around his neighborhood, and he would just he loved singing, so he would sing the songs that he learned. Well, some of his family is actually not Hindu. They actually go to a Sunday church, the Church of South India, which is a Sunday keeping church. And they heard some of the songs he was singing, and they kind of questioned him. They said, "You guys are Hindu. How do you know these songs about God?"
Right.
And so he relayed to them that they were going to this evening school. It's over here at this other church, and the teachers have been sharing these songs with us, and so I've been singing them, and so it kind of got his extended family thinking about the Adventist church and about the influence that it's having. And so not only is he's now influencing his parents, his Hindu family, but also the extended family who are Sunday keepers. And so just through song, he's been able to share the message with multiple people. So that's just exciting to me.
It is. And I know from visiting some of our evening schools, there's one song that they all sing. You would hear it at each evening school, and it's a very long song, but the essence of it is, "I'm going to heaven, won't you come with me?"
Yes.
And then it's verse after verse about what we're going to do when we go to heaven. So won't you come with me so we can do all these things? And I'm sure that's one of the songs that he's been singing. So
yeah, this story really resonated with me. A song speaks to me sometimes more than sermons do. And music is very just important to me. And so it's just, since I love hearing that it's not just character changes and, memory verses, although those things are very important, but hearing that the songs are making such a difference in people's lives, it was just special to me to see that.
That is really cool. It is so... what I love to see is how God can use different things to reach different people. And so for his family, being a strong Hindu and then being first-day Christians with the Church of South India, preaching at them would not have worked.
No.
But God knew the family would enjoy the music, and so that's what he's using.
So it's a great story. I'm happy to hear that.
Yay!
So our third story, we're actually going to now go into a different city. We're going to go to Amaravati.
Our favorite, one of our favorites.
One of our favorites, and we've talked about this school quite a bit. And in the past, we've actually talked about another village that's very close, but to Amaravati, but further up the mountain, smaller, poorer, if you can imagine. Topslip. We've talked about that village some. So it kind of incorporates both of those cities, and so that's about a family. They have 3 children, and one being a boy in 4th grade, and he's kind of the focus of the story. But they are from Topslip, and of course during the pandemic and the lockdowns, they had to figure out how to eat, how to survive.
Right.
So they came down to Amaravati in hopes of finding some help. They had some family there. So the whole family came down, and their family that lives in Amaravati is very close next to this school. And so they kind of saw things happening at the school, like, there's some activity, what's going on? And so they found out that the kids were going, and they were getting some food, and they were, getting a little bit of encouragement. And so they decided while they were there that their kids should attend and start going.
Right.
And so they attended while they were there. And after a few months, the parents thought, well, we can't do much more here. We should probably just go ahead and go back home and see if we can get work there again, if there's anything we can do. And so the decision was made to leave. Well, the boy, he said, but I don't want to leave. I love this school, and I love the people here. And, his siblings tended to agree, and, this is a good place. And so the parents really considered it, and they thought, well, what can we do? What if we go home and there still isn't enough work to feed our family? At least here they're getting some nutritious food. And so they agreed to leave the children with their extended family who lived in Amaravati, so that the children could continue going to the evening school, and the parents went back to Topslip to see if they could, pick up their whatever work they were doing.
Right.
So the children are still, as far as I know, still benefiting from Amaravati and the evening school there. And it's just wonderful to hear that, that the family was able to step up and say, it's okay, they can stay with us, they can stay here. Because that's a big responsibility.
It is.
To another family or to another, household to add 3 people. So that's wonderful, but then also just that they can still gain so much from the evening school and the interaction with the teachers and getting food and learning about God.
I know.
So it's great.
I didn't go to Topslip, but several of us have been to Amaravati, and it is one of the poorest villages that I have ever seen. If you think of the poorest place you've thought of and then multiply that by 10, that's probably about the level of poverty of Amaravati. And yet they were welcoming. Like, they have so little.
Yeah.
And they opened their home and said, sure, come on in. And that to me is amazing, because if I needed somewhere to go to get help, Amaravati may not be the place that I would go.
Right.
But yet God had a place for them there. So that's amazing to me. Yeah.
It is great. And I think we've heard from the other stories that I've mentioned from Topslip, that's kind of, like you said, Amaravati is like the poorest that you can imagine. Well, Topslip is, from what I understand, even smaller and poorer.
Wow.
And so, I mean, I can't, it just blows my mind. Like, I can't really even imagine it.
Right.
But to go to Amaravati is like a step up. But like you said, the people there are still they are living day to, they sell firewood or goats. That's basically that's all they can do.
Right.
So if you can imagine a place where the only job for you is to collect sticks and try and sell it, or possibly raise goats, I mean, you don't have anything extra to give other people, and yet they are so willing to still help other people.
Yes. Yeah.
Family or not, because there's been stories where it's been, other people have come down and they're not family. They just come because they need something else, and the village just accepts them, and they, they find their way. But it's quite amazing, and I'm just thrilled that these children are now in a place where they can attend the evening school and hopefully prepare for a better future.
Yeah. No, I think that's really great, because we know the Bible worker Selvi, who works in that village, and she loves those people so much, and so the kids are getting taken care of very well. So I'm very glad that they were able to do that. Well, thank you for sharing these stories. And if you are interested in supporting our evening schools, Hannah will drop a link down below. I forgot to mention that she's over there, but she's going to drop a link to our evening school page, and you can hear how the evening schools are impacting so many lives, not just the lives of the children that are sitting there every night, but their families, and then their extended families, and the villages. And so this is a place where God is just spreading the gospel greatly through these evening schools, and we're so very excited about that. If you're interested in learning more about Jesus for Asia, I invite you to go to jesusforasia.org, and there you will find information on our more than 60 projects that we have there. And we invite you to pray for the projects as you're looking around the website. And if you are interested in partnering with us financially, that would be great, but we would really appreciate your prayers. We didn't talk as much about prayer today. However, in previous episodes of Mission Snapshot, we have the Bible workers, we have the children and the teachers all praying, and we know the importance of prayer and how prayer can change lives. So we invite you to join us in praying for these special children and the schools. If you are watching this on YouTube, we invite you to subscribe to our channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, we invite you to like our page. That way you will be notified when we go live again. We try to go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, so we hope that you will come back and join us again. So thank you for bringing these stories. We really appreciate hearing all about what God is doing through the lives of these children, and we thank you for joining us. This has been your Mission Snapshot.